Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today I'm going to list my top 10 favorite board games for the 2016 DGA Awards. A few disclaimers to go along with that, just like last year. This is not a best of list, okay? It's not the best of all time, it's not the best of 2016. You cannot claim something is the best if you have not played every other product out on the market. To say that Ticket to Ride, the core version, is the best game when I have not played Marken or Europe, I have played Europe, or whatever else is out there. There's the kid version. You can't claim it's the best if you haven't played the other Ticket to Ride version. Same thing with just this list in general. So this is not a best of list. This is my top 10 favorite board games at this point in time. So, and I tried to, and regardless of publication date, but I did try, I really tried, to pick the games that came to me sometime this year. That there are a few games on this list that were so good, I had to leave them on. Because I didn't want to list the same 10 games every year because, I still, I thought that they were the best. It didn't seem like it would be very exciting. So I tried to, sort of favor the games that I got this year, but there are a few old games on this list. Anyway, number 10, Role Player. I think I did get this one this year. Role Player is sort of like a create-your-own-character RPG with dice, which is really cool. I like the whole idea of it. I play a lot of RPGs on the computer. For those of you that are subscribed to my YouTube channel, you know. I love Skyrim. I've played a lot of RPGs. And Role Player just scratches that itch. It's really cool. Splendor, my favorite game probably of all time. However, it wasn't as high on this list as I wanted it to be because, again, I was trying to favor some of the newer games that I got this year. Splendor is a fantastic gateway game. It's beautiful to look at. It's so easy to play, so easy to teach. Splendor, go check that one out. Royals, I did get this year, I believe. And my memory's not so great nowadays. But anyway, Royals, excellent game, very area control-y. You've got different ways to score victory points. Recommend that one. CV, the letter C and the letter V. That's where you, it's sort of like the game of life, but with dice. You roll these dice, and you're trying to collect cards across different categories, like job, and these different cards give you different dice results in addition to the dice that you're going to roll. So you can combine the cards that you have with the dice that you roll to try and buy more cards from the from the general public pool as they're going by. And there's a childhood deck and an elderly deck, midlife deck, all that stuff. So great game, really family friendly. The game is number 6, very cooperative heavy. I really enjoy it because of its cooperative nature. Very simple to play, but also very challenging. Cards ranging from 2 to 99, I think it is, or 2 to 98. And you've got 2 piles starting at 1 and 2 more piles ending at 99. And 2 piles go up, the other 2 piles go down. And you and your friends are trying to lay cards down in numeric order, ascending or descending, depending on the pile. And it's a really cool cooperative game. Like that one. Number 5 is The Last Spike. Again, I know it's a newer game. I don't know if it was this year that I covered it, but The Last Spike reminds me of Acquire. If The Last Spike had not been known to me, I would have put Acquire somewhere in here. The Last Spike, again, very similar to Acquire. You're laying down railroad tracks between these cities, and depending on how much stock you have in these cities when the railroad is completed, you score money. So you're trying to predict which lines are going to be the most, which ones are going to be completed, and then you're going to try and gain the stock cards from those cities so that you can get a lot of money when it happens. But sometimes you might get stock cards for cities that never score. So yeah, The Last Spike, great. Number 4, Power Grid, an oldie but goodie. I love the energy management in that game with the gas and the oil and the coal. And you've got these different cards that you can get. Wind turbines, everyone's favorite. You don't have to buy any power for the wind turbine. You can just power your cities without any sort of problem there. But yeah, Power Grid, excellent game. It's a little long though. Quadropolis is number 3. Another new game that I think I got this year. And it's sort of like a SimCity-esque kind of game. You've got your green residential, you've got your yellow industrial, at least I think. You've got your harbors, which are blue. You've got your parks. Well, harbors are blue. Anyway, that's water under the bridge. But in Quadropolis, you're trying to lay these tiles out onto your city in such a way that would score you the most points. So you've got residential zones that like to be next to parks. You've got your harbors that like to be in a straight line. You've got your commercial zones, industrial zones. They like to be next to each other in some type of fashion. So, cool game. Number 2, Star Wars X-Wing. No matter how many times I try and leave this off the list, it ends up going back on. One of the best games I've ever played, Star Wars X-Wing. Just, as someone that used to play the video game X-Wing, and then came TIE Fighter, then X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, then Alliance, I was in heaven because I got to fly these ships. And now I can control them like a commander out on the battlefield. I can put Luke Skywalker in this X-Wing. I can assign upgrades to him. And it's just a fantastic game. And the miniatures are so cool to look at. Unlike Star Trek Armada, where the miniatures are plastic pieces of crap. I mean, they look ugly. The Enterprise, for example, the NCC 1701, is like this big. And then you've got the Klingon Katinga, which is like this. But, it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, Stockpile is number 1. Really, I love economic games, but oftentimes they're too complicated. Stockpile is not so. It is an easy-to-play economic game that involves a stock market-esque kind of setting. You've got different piles that you're bidding on. You can see these piles on top of it, and players know, players know something about the companies. This player might know that this company is going up in stock, while this player knows that this company is going down by this much in stock. So, you know these things, and let's say you know that a company is going down. You're going to try and trick the other players into acquiring stock cards of that company so that they can lose money in the process. It's a really cool game, Stockpile. I do have a bunch of honorable mentions. I'll blow through them real quick. Ticket to Ride. I've mentioned this a number of times. Ticket to Ride is such an awesome gateway game. So simple. If you're good with colors, you're fine. Ticket to Ride, awesome game. You're putting trains between different cities and trying to score points. Each player has routes to try to complete on top of that. Ticket to Ride, the card game, is also a really cool one. It gets a little confusing because as your score pile gets bigger, you're trying to take stock of, okay, you've got all of these lines, all of these routes that you're trying to complete, and as you're doing it, you've got a score pile this high, and you have to go through your score pile. Okay, I've got 8 blues, 9 reds. Okay, I'm going to use these 3 blues for this card, this line here, 4 cards for this, and you're trying in your head to keep track of what you have and what you still need. It's a little confusing, but I still like it. Sushi Go Party. It's a great step up from Sushi Go, which is, it started with Sushi Go. Sushi Go Party is a bigger box, has more cards, has more card types, and even has a scoreboard, so really cool. Dice City is an excellent, I don't want to say city builder, but you've got dice, you're rolling them, and you're adding cards of different types, buildings, to your city, and which benefit you in some way. So as you're rolling dice, you put your dice on these buildings, you can start reaping their benefits. I like Dice City. Go check that one out. Among the Stars, building your own space station, and you have to do it in such a way to where the cards synergize with one another. You have to manage power a little bit. Great game. Jaipur, Camels, 2-player camel fun. It's a great set collecting game. Sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice. Star Trek 5-Year Mission. That is a cooperative game with a lot of dice. I do like that one. Dark Rock Ventures. It was a game I just got. Reviewed it. 9 out of 10, I think it was. Great dice manipulation mechanics. It's sort of a random chance when you're rolling dice, but there's so many ways in Dark Rock Ventures to manipulate the dice that you don't feel like you're up to, you're left up to Lady Luck. I liked it. Dead Man's Draw, we just recorded gameplay for that. It's an excellent push your luck game. You can play it in so many different ways. You can add variants. This is the board game, not the video game. It started with the video game. I'm talking about the board game version. The board game version has variants and traits, they're called. Basically characters with special abilities. So there's a lot of different ways you can play it, but it's a push your luck game. Letters from Whitechapel. It reminds me a lot of Clue the Museum Caper, where one player is hidden, the other players are trying to find this hidden player. It's a Jack the Ripper-esque theme. Excuse me. And yeah, it's just, I like being able to hide from my opponents. It's sort of like Scotland Yard and Clue the Museum Caper, like I've already said. Subtle much? I wouldn't call this a game so much as it is a tool that you can use to make your games more exciting. Subtle much is a product that allows you to try and get away with things as you're playing the game. Like each player is given a hidden goal or agenda they're trying to complete in secret from the other players, not being called out on it. So like, let's say you're playing Lords of Waterdeep, and your secret goal from the Subtle Much deck is to tap your finger on the table 15 times without being called out on it. So it's just an example. I don't think there's a card like that, but you get the idea. So it's a really cool idea that I thought that was worth mentioning and is worth an honorable mention. We've got Minecraft card game. Now, before you hardcore gamers out there start rolling your eyes, Minecraft card game, I found it to be pretty damn fun. It's got that Minecraft theme, but at the same time, it's a card collection. It's sort of like, it reminded me of Splendor. That's probably why I like it so much. You're collecting cards in order to buy tools, and you could use those tools for some benefit. Granted, Splendor's a little bit more complicated and a lot better, but I still liked this version of it. So if you think that Splendor would be too complicated for your younger kids, try Minecraft the card game. Flip side, really cool word builder kind of game. I'm always for word builders like Jambalaya. Is it Jambalaya or Jambalaya or something? Anyway, I know one's a food and one's a board game. But anyway, flip side, you've got this card in a pyramid kind of shape, and you're going down the pyramid trying to form words with the letters on these cards. It's just, and there's a few special abilities that kick in every now and again. So yeah, check that one out if you like word games. Star Trek Panic, probably one of my favorite Panic. I love Castle Panic, don't get me wrong. There's also Dead Panic, which I own. But Star Trek Panic, I'm a big Star Trek fan, in case you didn't know. So Star Trek Panic, very thematic. The Enterprise can move, which is something that you can't do in the other Panic games. Let's see, what else do I got here? Capo di Capi, if I pronounce that right. It's an Italian mafia-esque kind of game. Area control and dice rolling. And you're trying to gain control of certain areas on the board, but those different areas will be weighted differently depending on how many points are put into those spaces. So yeah, it's a great area control game. Battle Line, a card game, which I didn't think I'd like, but I really love it. You're trying to control various, it's basically a battle line. You're trying to control various parts of it, and the first player to get 3, I think, wins. It's been a while since I've played it, but it's an excellent area control card playing game. Deep Sea Adventure. It's another push your luck game, but players share the oxygen. It's basically a bunch of people in submarine suits going down from a submarine down with diving suits into the water, trying to collect treasure, but they have to make it back up to the surface before they run out of oxygen. But they're on a shared oxygen tank. So it's like you can screw your opponents over by collecting treasure, waiting until the oxygen's almost out so that you're consuming more, and then going back up. And then if you can make it onto the sub, before the collective oxygen runs out, you'll be safe. But at the same time, the others below you will be kind of SOL. So yeah, it's all about timing and luck, because the more treasure you carry, the less you get to move when you roll the dice. So really cool. Code names rather. It can be played cooperatively, which is what I like about it. But I think it's you have to play this in teams, obviously, because one person is trying to guess a word from the grid that belongs to your team. One person has the key. One teammate has the key and knows which words are yours, which ones belong to your opponent, and the other player on your team is trying to make a guess. But you cannot tell them directly what words belong to you. You have to sort of give them verbal clues, and it's a one-word clue on top of it. So you might say butterfly. So the other player has to look on the field and go, okay, what cards relate to a butterfly? Okay, this particular food uses a lot of butter. Is that what they meant by that? Or is this is an insect? This fly. This card says fly on it. Well, that's an insect. So what is? So you're trying to guess. What cards does your buddy mean when he's starting to reel off these clues? And of course, the clue giver will say, give a number after the clue so that they can tell you how many clues that they're thinking of with relation to that clue. It's a little confusing when I say it, but it's a really cool game. Go check it out. And there's a co-op version too. Lastly, Star Wars Rebellion takes a little bit of time to play and to figure out and to get a handle on the rules. But if you've played Star Wars Rebellion, the video game, you'll come to enjoy it because it is excellent. I mean, it's one of the few board games that I own that really captures the Star Wars universe. You know, the Rebels versus the Imperials. The Imperials, they've got these big honking Star Destroyers. They got the Death Star. The Rebels have a few guys here and a few guys there and a few guys there. But they've got all these tricks and these heroes that can do these things that can really mess up the Empire. They can get around the standard rules and inflict a lot of damage. And they each have their own objectives. So Star Wars Rebellion, if you're a big Star Wars fan and haven't played this one, you better. So that was it, my top 10 for the DGA Awards 2016. Again, apologies if I didn't list something here that you were expecting. This is my list, not yours. Keep that in the back of your mind. And again, I may not have played the games that you're thinking of. But yeah, hopefully this gives you some idea as to what games to pick up for the Christmas holiday coming up or whatever holiday you happen to be celebrating in the upcoming months. If you guys haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my official website, www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. This is Vince. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.